Welcome back to our second episode in our Viking Portugal River of Gold series. Today we're actually filming from Penang in Malaysia.
A long way from Portugal.
A long way from Portugal, but this is all about our Viking experience. We're Andrew and Leonie, and we like to cruise and travel.
Join us on our travels all over the world as we review a range of cruises, cruise lines, land tours, all sorts of shore excursions, and a range of hotels and resort holidays.
And remember to like and subscribe. Leonie, what cruise did we do? Just to recap.
We did Portugal's River of Gold, so that's 2 nights in Lisbon at the beautiful 5-star Corinthia Hotel, and then a week on the ship cruising the Douro River, and our ship was the Viking Togle.
It was.
Although there are 3 other Viking ships identical that cruise that same route, so no matter which ship you choose with Viking, this video will basically be equally relevant.
So tell us what we actually did in those first few days.
Yeah, that was interesting because that was something we were
We had a land component
of. Yeah.
and we had a ship component.
And we'd never had that before, so we didn't really know what that involved. But basically Viking picked us up at the airport, beautiful red branded shirts and the Viking red lollipop, so you can't miss them. And there happened to be 6 of us that they were picking up. Obviously the vehicle that they have there depends on how many people. It was a Sprinter or something like that. Nice, comfortable van. The Viking driver basically didn't let us touch the luggage, said don't touch it.
Now you're on holidays.
Now you're on vacation. Leave everything to Viking, which we'll keep coming back to because really you do leave everything to Viking. They take care of everything. So that started with the airport pickup and the luggage transport. They dropped us off at the Corinthia, which was beautiful. We had 2 nights there.
So the Corinthia is a 5-star hotel, high-rise.
Yep, beautiful. We had breakfast included. Lunch and dinner you are on your own. There's restaurants in the hotel, which are beautiful. There's some local restaurants, or you can go into the old town or wherever you like in Lisbon. We had 1 full day in Lisbon. As part of that, I go back to the first day. We had a meeting on that first day.
We had a meeting and cocktail welcome.
We met our program director, Miki, who's been with Viking since 2008, and she stayed with us for the whole voyage. Miki told us she lives in Portugal now. She's not Portuguese. She's lived in many places, but she's chosen to live in Portugal. Loves the place. That came through.
There was always somebody that we knew we could go to if we had a question or some information, because the crew stayed with us, including our program director, for both the land tour and the ship tour.
Yeah, so you develop a relationship and a trust, and Miki was always around, so she explained how it was all going to work. That was the first day. Everyone obviously arrived at different times. So we already mentioned it, Viking Togle was our beautiful ship, the same as the other 3 Viking ships that cruise the Douro River for Viking, I said that. Tell us about the ship.
Well, the Togle was built in 2014.
You wouldn't know, it could have been built in 2024.
Viking have a really cool naming. They call all their river ships long ships, named after, which is a nod to the Viking sailors of 1,000 years ago. This was a baby long ship, so the smallest in the fleet, specially designed for the Douro River. It's 80 metres long and it's modern. It's got panoramic windows for light and views, which are amazing. There are 53 staterooms on board. We actually had 96, 98 passengers and 35 crew on our particular sailing. Viking has a winning design of a very wide bow. Some river ships use the bow, which is the front of the ship, for the storage of ropes and anchors. Viking is completely different. They turn this area into an outdoor sitting area and lounge, complete with couches and rocking chairs. It's actually called the Aquavit Terrace. It was one of our favourite places to sit on board.
Got a little glass fence which protects you from the wind if the wind happens to be blowing. It was a really lovely spot.
And they also have the sun deck, which is the very top level. This was actually our favourite spot. We used it almost every day. There were sunbeds. There's a small swimming pool on deck. There's a covered area where you can escape from the direct sun in lounges and sunbeds under the shade.
Heaps of lounges.
This was also another great addition to the Viking Togle.
And drink service in both those areas. The Aquavit Terrace is actually connected to the lounge, and upstairs is not connected to a lounge, but there's a drink service.
And what about the design, Leonie? What did you think of the design?
I made the comment before, it could have been 2020 before it was designed, and I think that's because it's Scandi, it's minimalist, lots of blonde colours. It's just, how would you put it?
It's light, it's bright,
it's light, it's
fresh.
Bright, it's relaxed luxury. It's definitely fresh, and with the windows that you already alluded to, bringing in light and views all the time, it's just lovely. So Andrew, there's lots of river cruise companies out there. Why choose Viking?
Yeah, look, I think these guys are certainly doing something right, and they're doing it in a pretty major way. They only started in 1997, and as of today, they've got over 100 ships across both expedition, river, and ocean. And I think by 2031, they're projecting, they've got orders in, that they're going to have over 110 river ships alone.
Incredible.
So if size of the company is something that's really important to you, very hard to go past Viking.
Yeah, well, something that goes with that size, well, the main thing I think is organisation and quality of ships and quality of everything. But you can also feel at home if you've cruised Viking once and then you cruise them again. There's familiarity, similar elements. It might be the same ship doing a different route, or the same design ship. Even if it's a different design ship, there's still elements that are the same, and that's comfortable.
Yeah,
it's nice.
It's familiar and it's comforting. Okay, Leonie, so perhaps you could tell us a little bit about our stateroom.
Yeah. Or cabin. Viking called them staterooms, but same thing. It was a veranda stateroom. We had a proper balcony with floor-to-ceiling sliding glass door, so it wasn't just a window that folded down.
Now, you particularly love that. You sat out on it.
I did. Now, it's small, but it can't be any bigger because the boats can only be a certain width so that they can navigate the locks. And there's 5 locks on the way to Barcadalva, which is basically the Spanish border, and the same 5 locks back to Porto. So it's not an expansive balcony, but it's beautiful. Yeah, I did love it.
How large is the room?
183 square feet, I think that's about 17 square metres, I think. Put it on the video if I've got that wrong. Everything that you need or want. First of all, the cases stow under the bed, so that gives you extra room.
That's a cool feature.
It is. It's cool. You've got more room than you often have in a hotel room where you're dancing around the cases. There was a flat screen TV, there was a bar fridge, there was a comfortable queen size bed, there was a pillow menu, storage in drawers and wardrobe, water bottles continually refilled. They don't do bottled water anymore in the rooms for environmental reasons, which is good.
I thought it was really good feature was lots of power points.
Lots of power points and
there were
USB
USB outlets integrated into the cabin as well.
Yep. We had, actually one of the best things is we had 3 layers of curtains. So we had, from the inside out, we had heavy curtains, then we had shears, and then we had an electric block out.
This might sound like a small thing, but for somebody who wakes up as soon as there's an element of light, I love the fact that there were these electronic block out blinds.
Yeah. I don't mind a bit of light, but
yeah, I don't.
No, it was a terrific feature.
Yeah, and I don't understand why everybody wouldn't have blockouts, but the Viking Togle did. So
we've
well
stayed
done.
in expensive hotels where the curtains don't meet.
Yep.
So this was fantastic. Bathroom, not huge. They never are on a ship, but it was perfect. Scrupulously clean, as was the entire ship. We had a glass shower screen and everything you want in a bathroom, shelving, room to put your stuff, and a really cool feature which was a sliding door so that you didn't lose the room that you need for a whatever you call a non-sliding door, a hinge door.
Yeah, it just created more space within the cabin.
Space. So it was really, the whole room and bathroom was very cleverly designed.
Shout out to Arif, our cabin attendant for the trip. He was in multiple times a day. It was almost got to the point of embarrassing where I had to clean up before I knew that he was coming because
it's very bad for husbands to have someone who's so attentive.
Yeah, I'm not used to it, I must admit. Arif did not allow.
You're not used to it.
No, a riff didn't allow anything to be out of place. So it was.
My standards have lowered over the years.
I felt very spoiled.
Yeah, and he gave us our Viking Daily every night at turn down service as well. I'd be happy with that just being electronic, which it is. It's on the TV, but they give it to you in paper, and it tells you everything to expect for the next day.
Let's talk about the check-in process. We have had some very lengthy, and I'm talking about 30, 40 minutes plus queuing for check-in. Tell us about the check-in.
And we've also then had the muster drill later, where you're standing out on the deck in hot sun or cold, whatever.
In your life jacket. So once we arrived in Porto, maybe you can talk us through what actually happened in terms of
It was great. We came on the 3 buses that you've talked about, but they staggered them, so it was basically 30 odd people at a time. So there's no queue. You went up, you either gave your surname, or if you knew your stateroom number, which everyone knows because it's been given it, but you'd have had to have looked it up. So surname was easy, and someone escorted you directly to your cabin. Of course, you don't worry about your luggage because someone else takes care of that.
So that cabin attendant that escorted us to our stateroom actually spent the next 10 to 15 minutes going through all the features of the stateroom, plus telling us everything we kind of needed to know about the ship itself. I haven't really had that before, and I felt that was a really great introduction to Togle.
No, it was terrific. So thumbs up for that process. Now, Andrew, food and drink's important in daily life, but especially on a holiday. What was it like on Viking Togle?
Especially on the Viking tour. Look, there's one main lounge on board the Viking Togle. It's got seating for everybody because we had entertainment and daily briefings, and everybody had a seat in the lounge. There was a bar in the lounge where you could order a drink.
If you've got the Silver Spirits beverage package, which we did, you don't pay for those drinks.
Yeah, you have those throughout the day.
Yeah. Otherwise, if you don't pay for that, you do pay for those drinks, but you don't pay for house wine and beer, I think, at meals.
That's correct. That's the Viking model. There's one restaurant on board where all meals are served. Like the lounge, this spans the entire width of the ship, and the panoramic windows really have to be seen to be believed, because the views you're getting as you're cruising along the Douro with the medieval vineyard terracing is fantastic.
It is. Yeah, I agree. As for the meals, breakfast is a buffet. There were some a la carte options that you can choose from, and there was an egg station where that was cooked to order. Lunch and dinner were not buffets, except for one night we had a regional buffet, but the other lunches and dinners were a la carte. They're always available dishes, which are classic dishes, and then they had changing daily specials and changing regional specials. So there was no shortage of options. The food was delicious, and I didn't get bored, did you?
I didn't get bored, but I think a special sort of comment about the waiter service. It was luxe. It was a luxe feeling to sit down, have a drinks order taken, have your selection off the menu, and hey presto, it was delivered 10-15 minutes later. It was very easy to.
It was.
The seating for the lunches and dinners, how did that work?
Our breakfast too was all the same. It was free seating. There were tables for 2, there were tables for 4, there were tables for 8.
Breakfast was actually stretched over a couple of hours, so
people wandered in and out.
The breakfast restaurants seemed pretty sparse at all times during breakfast service, but for lunch and dinner, how did that work?
Yeah, we never had an issue finding a seat. Sometimes we sat on our own. We probably sat on our own more at the beginning, and then as we got to know people, we would sit with them.
As we found our people?
As we found our people, as one of our lovely friends, Elena, that we made on the cruise, said. Yeah, as we found our people, we would sit with them. Also, for 5 days, once you're on the boat, you were given the same coach each day, the same driver and the same guide. Shout out to Antonio, amazing driver. Elena, amazing tour guide. So there was about 30 of us that you got to know pretty well, because you were with them the day we went to Salamanca, for instance. We were together all day. So
small thing, but it was actually very familiar and very comforting again to be in the same group of people, because we kind of looked out for each other a little bit. We'd help each other. If somebody like was a bit lost or something, you'd be able to say, hey, back over here.
Yeah. But you can sit on your own if you want to, because you don't feel like chit-chatting or for whatever reason. There were lovely tables for two right beside the window. Not that you needed to be right beside the window, because the windows were so big you saw the view no matter where you sat. But no, meals were a highlight.
I think the dining worked well.
Yeah, and we would go from dinner up to the lounge for whatever the show or entertainment was.
We'd actually go from the lounge to dinner.
We did, because that's where the port talk was.
And then back to the lounge, but that's another story.
Got to have a few port tonics, which is a drink I didn't even know existed before this cruise.
And a few evening ports as well. Maybe the 40-year-old
The Graham's 40-year-old got a fair tilt by you.
Edgar, the pianist, played in the lounge every day. And there were also other shows on board that were special events. There was a music trivia one night, a quiz. There was a flamenco show. I think they came in from Salamanca.
They did. Yep. It was the day before we went to Salamanca, but yeah, they came in from, they did.
There was a folk show with some university...
I got serenaded.
Kids? Yeah, I'm not sure why, but... And there was various history lectures on board, conducted in the lounge as well. Yeah,
and the port talks we've talked about every day, which are terrific.
Yeah.
Miki was very, very funny. She had
a joke of the day.
She had a little joke that she did at the end. Started off with the chef, then her talk, and she'd finish with a joke, and then we'd process into dinner all giggling.
What was your favourite Miki joke?
Well, something about husbands don't wish for a wife 30 years younger, or you might find that you age 30 years and the wife stays the same. There you go, there's the joke.
Good punchline. Look, there are activities during the day as well. A couple you attended and really enjoyed.
Yeah, that cooking class that I mentioned, and also
you did a
Portuguese language lesson, which was by the three tour guides, Helena. The other two were called Anna and Carolina, I think. Yeah, that's right. And they'd put a lot of work into that. It was a whole section of slides. It was culture mixed with language.
They seemed really proud of their culture and their language. So that was really nice to see.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that. I can't say I know too much beyond obrigada or obrigado if you're a male, which means thank you. But that was interesting and cultural, and I enjoyed that.
Now, Viking provide a free excursion every day, and I think that's one of the key features and benefits of cruising with Viking.
It's something to look at when you're comparing different cruise lines on the same route, because you've got to compare apples with apples. If you're paying each time you get off the boat to do something, and bear in mind that quite a few of the ports on this trip you would have to pay because there's nothing really at the port. By the time you add that in, you've got to compare that with the price that Viking offers, where that's included. So there's one thing every day, and there's some optional paid excursions as well.
Now, as we've said, Viking are the biggest in the business. They're clearly doing something right. One of the things I loved about these excursions was they're quiet Vox machines. They basically give an audio, it's a speaker system, I guess you'd call it, where the tour guide talks directly into the guest's ears. Fantastic. It's recharged each night in your stateroom. You hang it around your neck.
So that's yours for the length of the voyage.
It just means that even if you're trailing 20, 30, 40 metres behind the group, you're still able to hear the commentary that's going on, and very professional.
That was excellent. The coaches, buses, whatever you call them, were fantastic, fully branded.
I think you have to see them to believe how professional and sharp these coaches look. One of the benefits is when you're at a tour site and there might be 5 or 6 different companies, and therefore there's 15 or 20 coaches, the Viking coaches stand out immediately.
Absolutely, yeah. It would be much more difficult to find your coach if it wasn't a Viking one.
Now, I'm not sure how old these coaches were, but they felt like they were brand new.
They can't have been too old, because they had USB A and C outlets for every one of each, I think, in every pair of seats.
There was a toilet on board. There was a fridge on board that was stocked with cold, chilled water.
Yep. We had our own climate control, like on a plane. The tour guide came with us everywhere.
I think there were 50-seat buses and there are about 33 odd passengers. So there was also plenty of space on board.
And there were
well.
seatbelts as well.
No, the coaches...
there's also Wi-Fi on the coach, we should mention that. So
the coaches, I felt, were a big part of the professional and just sharpness of the Viking experience.
Yep. We've talked about it a few times, but just to hammer it home, I suppose, what do you think is the key factor in choosing Viking?
Well, certainly one of them is they look after everything. And I guess my example of that is we had a medevac situation that occurred halfway through our trip. A passenger fell and hit his head and maybe cut himself on the staircase and had to be medevaced off. First thing I'd say was that all the department heads swarmed around this passenger trying to help and take care of them. Next thing I knew, we'd pulled over at an unscheduled stop at a pier. There was an ambulance with lights flashing waiting on the dock, and the passenger and his partner were actually transported off on a stretcher and went straight off to hospital. So now obviously getting sick on a holiday is dreadful, but if you can imagine that situation, we didn't see what happened, so we don't know. They were an American couple.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, that English
They
speaking.
did not speak Portuguese.
Can you imagine being English speaking, as we are as well, and having any sort of accident when you're travelling on your own? How difficult that is to liaise with a doctor, a hospital, ambulance, whatever. Well, you don't need to worry.
They organised it.
You don't want this to happen, but if it does, Viking take care of it all.
They organised it all. So I saw it with my own eyes.
Yeah.
It was actually a very impressive support and medevac that Viking put in place.
Yep.
So we've spoken over dinner about what we call the Viking embrace and just generally Viking's professionalism. How would you define it? What are your examples?
Yeah, well, other than cruising, we generally travel independently. As we get older, we're back to travelling on our own without kids again. That will change because we'll mix things up a bit. But previously, we've been independent other than cruising. What we love about cruising and cruising with Viking is that embrace. They wrap their arms around you from picking you up at the airport right to dropping you off at Porto Airport. Helena came with us and didn't leave till we went through security, just in case there was any issues. You don't have to worry about anything. You unpack once and there's no, how do we get to this train station? How do we get to this airport? How long should we allow? The cost of, Ubers or taxis here and there. All of that is taken care of, and you just sit back and enjoy the scenery.
Yeah. Look, as I've said, Viking are the largest in the business for river cruising, and that shines through for me in their level of organisation. All the airport staff and the guides every day, the bus drivers, all wear uniforms. In the case of the guides, they're red polo shirts with a Viking logo on.
And the red lollipop.
The red lollipop.
The branded buses.
It's almost like I wandered off a couple of times, 30, 40, 50 metres, and you've only got to scan around in a crowded piazza or street, and finding your group, your people, is really easy with Viking.
Yeah, absolutely.
I really like that level of professionalism. It shines through. Sadly, that brings us to the end of this episode. We hope you've enjoyed our two-part series on Viking and their Portugal itinerary, the River of Gold. Join us for our next episode where we'll be filming from Asia, a number of episodes. Drop us a comment if there's any questions you have, or if you've experienced Viking and you'd like to make a comment.
Or ask us a question.
Otherwise, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next episode. Bye for now.
Thanks for watching.